$2 million.
We ready? Sorry, I'm late. All right, let's call to order and roll call, please.
One second.
Everybody here?
Mr. Chairman, yes, thank you.
All right, I need a motion for the minutes.
The roll call was,
Oh,
Chair, Frank Ordis, present. Vice Chair, Sandy Johnson, present. Deputy Vice Chair, Yvette Coburn, she's here, but she stepped out for the moment. County Commissioner, Beam Fur, he's, virtual.
I'm here. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Absolutely, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I'm here.
Rich Walker. Oh, thank you. At large, Brian Jaffe. And finally, at large, Representative Joy Cooper. You have a quorum. Everyone's present.
thank you, sir. Need a motion for the minutes. Motion, is there a second? Second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. How about the agenda? Motion and second, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. Opposed? Public comments?
Do we have any public comments, please? Seeing the mad stampede, I would say no.
Mr. Stewart.
Thank you, sir. Today, we're going to be bringing forward action items, which is the motion to recommend Broward MPO approve A and B item, amendments to the rules of the Broward Metropolitan Planning Organization, and B, amendments to the Broward Metropolitan Planning Organization's procurement rules. With that, would you like a presentation or some information on that?
Folks? What's your pleasure? We'll take a brief presentation.
Okay, great. Mr. Brown, let's go through whatever you want.
Morning.
Mic check. Is it on?
Yes. Mike?
Okay, we're good. Good morning, members of the Executive Committee. My name is Chris Bross. I'm the Contracts and Purchasing Manager for Broward MPO. And what I'd like to run you through basically is a major revisions document. So it highlights the changes from the actual procurement rules, which were last amended and approved July of 2021. So starting with the major revisions as far as what's in front of you today with the new rules. Firstly, it has been completely reformatted. We added definitions to coincide with the capitalized terms in the document. So basically, there's more definitions than in the previous amended document. We added additional exemptions from competitive solicitation requirements. We also added external auditing services restriction. It's rotation policy, restricting the current contracted auditor from eligibility to participate in the following procurement as the prime contractor. Okay, thank you. I'm reading right from the document on the screen. Executive Director's approval authority has been raised from $30,000 to $35,000. That's been done to match the FDOT state of Florida formal acquisition threshold. It's also that threshold that we actually go out on formal procurements. So at that level, 35,000, all formal procurements of that and above will either come back to the Executive Committee, or if it's a high dollar value over 250,000, we'll go back to the full board for approval. We added details for other actions that are currently under the Executive Director and delegation authority to contracting officer language, which was not included in previous amendments to the rules. For surplus property, we added the ability for MPO staff to purchase fully depreciated surplus property valued under $5,000. And we added the following restriction as a result of that. The procurement officer and MPO directors shall not be entitled to purchase any such supplies or property. It's to avoid any apparent conflict of interest. We added methods of procurement and the details of such. RFP, ITB, which weren't in previous versions of the rules. We also added a communications and cone of silence policy for fairness and competition, meaning that once a formal procurement is out on the street, communications are restricted to the contracting officer or procurement department as far as questions and answers during the process. It avoids they going around the process and going to you as board members. So they're aware of it. It's actually in the RFP document, ITB documents, and if approved, it'll actually be in your rules. We added authorization for the use of electronic transmissions policy. That's for in the future, if the agency so determines to go to a fully electronic process of receiving proposals and bids, it's allowable under these rules. And we added a debarment and suspension policy. And we added an unsolicited proposal policy as well, as far as how to handle any proposals that might be initiated by the public. We also modified from the current rules to these protest solicitation and awards. What it does is it allows for a protest during the process instead of waiting to the end of the process, because if it's something to do with the solicitation documents, we have an opportunity to fix that instead of waiting to the end of the process where there's a protest as a result. So not only would that delay the procurement, but it would be something that could have been fixed during the process. Some of these following are things that were in the current rules that basically, as promulgated as procedures under the executive director, thought it was better suited for these to be in procedures, including record requirements and sales tax, prompt payment act, travel expenses, and MPO credit cards, use of MPO credit cards, all which staff has procedures for, and as such have been removed from the board proposed rules. And that's a highlight of the major revisions to the current rules, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions? What's that?
It's not working.
You have to put that.
Sounds like it's on.
Once I turn it on, it will, huh? Cool. Good morning. Question, the procedures that you just went through, that is a procurement, the changes in the procurement procedure? We have two amendments, two documents. We're amending two documents, right?
Yes,
Yes.
an A and B.
So what you just went through was A, or is it B, or A and B?
It would be the procurement rules, not the MPO rules. I think that was B.
So that was B, so you didn't go over A. Do you have a presentation for A?
So I'm not sure, General Counsel. I mean, I can address, I know one change, the big change to A was that there also was the $30,000 threshold in the rules document. So to be consistent between what we're proposing in the procurement rules and the Broward MPO rules was to make that change.
And we can go over to the general counsel for A.
Yes, if you like. So the rules are what we actually follow as a entity of the board, and the procurement rules are adopted as well by the board. With regard to the rules, we made the rules consistent now with what the procurement rules are going to proposal will be. If you look at the current rules right now, it's right now the executive director has the authority to spend up to 30,000.
Yeah.
It's going to go to 35, and there's the reason behind that was
We're bringing in an alignment with FDOT.
that's the basis.
And I don't, as a favor, please don't increase it beyond that.
You got it.
And also with regard to the rules itself, instead of having to identify and change both documents, both the board rules and the procurement rules, we're just making the board rules are going to reference to the procurement rules. But you control both of those. The board adopts and approves that both sets of rules. So it's not as if you're taking away your authority or power. It just means we don't have to keep going do both like we're doing today.
That's fine. I have, I just wanted some clarification. On page 9 of the Broward rules, right? Where you do have strike through, the board rules. Where you do have strike through and underline, where it says 250,000,
That's the executive committee's authority.
the executive committee authority is 250 currently. We're taking that out and we put to a certain amount as authorized by the procurement rules.
Right.
So when you go to the procurement rules, where is that new amount?
The same amount that you.
It's the same amount.
Not changing, it's just removing from the board rules, the reference to the total, to the total amount.
Okay, I just asked because I was looking to see, okay, so we're taking the amount out. It's in the procurement rules, but I was trying to find it in the procurement rules. Can you tell me what page that amount is on?
Sure, it's on page 9 under chapter 3 organization. So if you go to page 9, the procurement rules, about 3/4 down the page.
Got it.
It is.
Very good. Can you actually put the section on there? Can I just suggest that you put the section on there where it's at, not just to put the make that reference for the procurement rule? Would that be okay to do that?
In the board rules is what you're saying.
In the board rules, just identify so someone would know where to go in the procurement rules to
Of course
find
you
it.
can. Yes,
Okay, that would be my only amendment to those two things.
but when it comes to the board, for formal approval, if you want to make that motion that way, we'll be happy to do it.
Actually, with the recommendation, they're
They
recommending.
recommend, right.
So with that amendment.
All right, so what do we have to do now?
Oh, well, now just keep going and have your discussion, and then that's what you're going to recommend that modification be made.
We'll turn to the attorney and ask him for the exact language.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You done, sir?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, I had one question.
What's that? Oh, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In terms of the expenditure allowance for the executive director, does it discuss anything in there in terms of if there was an emergency order going around that where I don't know what the scenario might be, but where the executive director might need to authorize funds in greater than that, if the board can't meet or if there's a executive emergency order being.
I'll take that one. I'll take that one. It's right in front. It's on the
I
screen.
know you said you don't want to exceed it, but
Yeah, in an emergency, let's say there's a hurricane or some type of natural disaster. Yeah, I do. It actually provides me, if the governor has declared an emergency or something that it becomes an emergency, allows me to expend the dollars, but I still have to come back to you when I can get you together and explain the expenses.
thank you.
Right, further questions?
Cone of silence, is that lifted the minute the agenda's posted,
No, it's lifted upon award of contract.
awarded contract? Because I know in our cities, we release loud for us to discuss it. I don't know how anybody feels about that or how it's operating. I'm kind of surprised we didn't have a code of silence to begin with, but to have it.
If I can just add, effectively, we've been operating in that way, but we don't have it in our rules to provide for it.
It's not like code.
But it needs to be there.
We need.
All right. But does it preclude us from going to ask questions of the vendor?
Oh, man.
Okay, that's the other
You can ask
side.
questions.
That's the other side of the point.
Ask questions of staff is what, absolutely.
Through staff or the vendor.
So,
Ask staff. You shouldn't be talking to the vendor.
The procurement staff.
Okay. All right. Mhm.
so I'm,
Okay,
and I know in my city, it doesn't apply too. I thought you were going.
Oh,
Oh, out of order.
let me see you put in 28 years.
Oh,
that's funny.
I'm sorry, if I understood what you were saying, Cooper, is that the cone of silence does not apply to the elected officials in your city?
Oh, no, it does.
Oh, okay.
It does, but when the minute we get an agenda, we can actually reach out to the vendor if we have questions.
Okay, so.
Absolutely.
Get an agenda.
The posting of the agenda.
So let me.
I'm sorry. Like, in other words, we have documentation and we know that they,
But that's when it's for approval.
and obviously I wouldn't go directly to vendor, but I'm just curious about it because I usually go to staff first because I
That's-
respect. the
You've already,
I should have prefaced that. I don't operate that way, but a lot of times I know
let me just clarify,
the vendors will come to us and I'll.
You probably direct the vendor to staff.
Absolutely, but within our guardrails. In other words, if I get the agenda item, say and these policies are great. I don't mean to question the policies. I think the thresholds are important in this day and time. The questions and discussions were excellent. My question was, because I always presumed we had one, tone of silence codified. That's how it is in our city. If I'm awarding a contract and it's on our consent agenda and I have a question, I can actually, once it's placed on an agenda, I can ask the question to the contractor. I don't have to go through staff. But I always go through staff, but it's just codified in the way that we can.
So could it
As a-
be, could it be said that it would, the cone of silence would end once the director has made his recommendation? Because
I wanted just to clarify a point. So when it's on the agenda, it means it's coming to the board or to the executive committee as appropriate for final approval
Correct.
In a public meeting.
at a public meeting.
Correct.
So what I believe that what you're hearing from Chris is that he's talking about the whole process where it's review and everything else. At that time, that.
Absolutely. That's a no-no.
That could be.
Get it.
Could be different.
Get it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, distinction, Chris, what we're talking about is that the contract is already on the agenda and it's then coming forward for approval. The cone of silence would not necessarily have to apply then. That's what they're asking.
Well, currently it's written as far as the board taking action to award contract, not once it's on the agenda. And different municipalities and different government organizations do have differences in when that cone of silence ends. The reason for award of contract is that the rules also address a protest process. So pretty much once intent to award is issued and they know board members are about to take action, certain opinions would say that's the time where the vendors get really hot and heavy in going to you to try to potentially sway a decision of the board prior to award. So that's why we have it through award of contract. It's really to protect board members.
Right.
And it also allows them to come back to staff. And then if they have any issues, we would start the protest process.
Right. I understand that process. And like I said, I usually work directly with staff in our city, but if I had a particular question for a vendor that was technical in nature, we're allowed to do that the minute we get the agenda,
Right.
Like it's issued, like as an item, just as an open door to research it a little further.
Right? We've had,
I don't, wait, no, let me finish because I want to clarify my train of thought. Again, I want to reiterate, it's not about necessarily the staff process. It's our ability to. The vendors in turn aren't allowed to go to us until it's on the agenda. Correct? So
Correct.
where, I'm just, where those guardrails begin and end, that's my question. Because once it comes to us, if we're doing research, if I can't talk to anybody, that's just good. Make sense? Understand? I don't know what everybody else is saying.
that it's,
I love the procurement guardrails. I think, picking winners and losers shouldn't be a politicized decision. It's technical. In my mind.
for the train.
No?
Need a motion for A and B plus the amendment that was put on.
So move.
Second, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Hey, good discussion. Legislative updates. They're gone.
They're gone.
Paul's here.
Mr. Cavarezza.
Good morning. So we'll start with the state update. So Trip Scott Erics will not be here this morning, but they will be in person next month. Quick state overview. Nothing bad happened to us, so that's good.
Yes.
Okay, and I'd like to invite Mr. Bedell from your team at Becker to give the federal update.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes. Good morning.
I finally have good news from Washington, D.C. First off, with the half of the omnibus bill passing last week, keeping half of the government funded through the rest of the year. One of your earmarks is fully funded for the SR5 US1 southbound ramp to westbound I-595 for $850,000. The second is you were awarded a Reconnecting Communities Program grant by the USDOT for $1.5 million. And then also today, a SMART grant was announced for Broward MPO for $2 million. Those are all very good things, and congratulations. And we are cautiously optimistic that the rest of the bills that are remaining on appropriations will be wrapped up later this week, so that the rest of the government remains funded. But the biggest impact directly on the MPO was the THUD bill, which was wrapped up and passed last week. So congratulations, and it's fun to deliver good news as opposed to the world is ending.
Thank you so much. Further?
I just had a question because ironically, we're just talking about procurement and this is more for.
Mayor Cooper?
But thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry. I'm duly recognized.
Yeah.
Duly recognized. Did they change anything to local preferred options for minority, locally preferred options? I know there was dialogue taking place. Did that come to fruition? In other words, if I want to focus on minority builders or require a minimum wage, those types of situations.
Are you asking at the state or federal level?
Oh, the state. I'm thinking state.
Yeah.
Okay, and
I apologize.
because we're federally funded, we need to follow the government's procurement.
Hey, Vice
Federal.
Chair?
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
No
I
worries.
just,
Not enough coffee.
I had a
There's more.
question
Need
about
more.
reconnecting neighborhoods. That's awesome. I really love it. But do we know what the 5 intersections are that they're talking about?
Yes,
Finally?
we do. From south to north, it's Davie Boulevard, Broward Boulevard, Northwest 6th Street, also known as Sistrunk Boulevard, Andrews Avenue, and Sunrise Boulevard.
Okay,
Those are our first 5. We'll do more.
yeah, that's
Can we go west?
awesome.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Well,
All right, further discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? And legislative update, discussion on March 14th.
Okay, so we know what the items are. I'm gonna actually go, you went through the action items, but Mr. Chair, I am being given the pull the plug when it's time for the board meeting. So
What's that?
I've been given the pull the plug. It's time for the regular board meeting.
Okay.
If that's okay with you, and I'll follow up with this during the regular board.
Sure. All right, anything further? All right, let's end our board meeting.
Get some coffee.
Turned it